I think people should get married.
Why?
Why? Well, because I think it's a good. I don't know. I'm a person who really wants to get married one day. I'm a straight dude, so I want to get married to a woman. I feel like it's a system that if you truly love someone and you really want to continue that love and bring yourself closer to the universe and make yourself a happier individual, it is a system that works if you do it with the right person.
Do you think that people should fall in love then, is what you're saying?
Of course.
Okay, but what if people don't, though?
If you don't fall in love, then that's kind of on you in a way. Like,
Is it, though?
I mean, sure, you might not find someone that's perfect, but you're never going to find someone that's perfect, but you can find... I mean, I don't know. I'm a person, and you're a person who we both have been in love before, and it's not like a thing we control, per se.
Yeah.
So it's not even on them. It's just a thing that happens.
But it's also worth noting that I'm a person and you're a person, and we've both also fallen out of love before.
Yeah, for sure. But that's because of extraneous circumstances. If you're really trying to marry the right person, then you wouldn't have to worry about that. Then you would continually be doing things in that relationship to amp up the love.
I don't know. It just feels like an unknown. It feels like there's enough unknown variables where I'm not sure how quick I am to call that one a should. You know.
I mean, do I think it's necessarily for everyone? No, because some people would be really fucked up out there. But I think that it's definitely a thing that if you're a loving person and you want to love people, I would suggest that you seal it down and shit.
I don't know. I guess that's a. I'm not gonna say I disagree with you.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not quick to say that I agree with you, if that makes sense.
That's fair.
I think that, like, you know, I'd like to get married one day, but I feel as though also, like, do you feel like people should like literally like sign the piece of paper? Like, you think that all that's necessary?
I think for tax benefits it is.
Yeah.
That's another reason people should get married, is because you get to save some money.
I think it's kind of scary to think about the fact that you can also stop being married, though.
Well, then don't marry someone that you're not gonna be married to at some point.
That's a lot easier said than done.
It is, but I'm just saying
that happens.
If you educate yourself and you understand who you are and you understand a person that you think you could marry, it is easier than it appears. Because a lot of people, the majority of people, I would say, statistically speaking, the majority of people, this is a fact, get married and stay married. A lot of people say that's like 50% divorce rate. No, that's not true.
Well, what would you say what I mean?
I don't have the number in my head right now, but I know I saw in the past week that the percent of divorce rates, especially amongst millennials, surprisingly, is very, very low.
I mean, it's also worth noting that most millennials haven't been married for a very long time.
No, but even overall, since the 1960s when divorce rates have gone up, they've not like skyrocketed through the roof. It's been like a gradual increase, and it ebbs and flows with the times for one thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that I'm going to have to call that one a we'll see in terms of my life.
Yeah. I think that it just...
I'd like to get married, but...
It sounds pretty dope.
It sounds cool in terms of like family building and stuff.
I don't even think about... I think you can get married and not have kids, and that's for you. I think kids are a whole different issue.
I mean... I know that I want to have kids more than I want to get married, if that makes sense.
I would say I want to get married more than I ever want to have kids.
Well, that's where you and I differ.
And that's the only way?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Outrospection. I am Rashad Davis.
And I am Hayden Bittinger. And he's going to do his weird thing.
Act 1. What's been going on in the world?
So last week we talked about Kanye announced about 2 weeks ago that he was going to be running for president. I mean, he really announced it in 2016. But last week he was like, hey, on 4th of July, he was like, hey, I'm going to be running for president. And we talked about it. You explained that, like, it's cool, but it's also like, don't vote for Kanye.
And now it's not cool.
And now it's not cool because I made the point of expressing that I wanted to see his policy. Because, like, shit, if he had policy I agreed with, I could work with it. I wouldn't like it because he doesn't have any actual experience in the field. But, you know, I really wanted to see his policy just out of, like,
I mean,
pure curiosity.
And, okay.
And then Forbes released an article about Kanye's policy. And it's like something out of a dystopian novel written by a crackhead.
Yes, it's very not good. It's very not good.
Do you want to click on the link and just go through it?
Yeah, we're gonna real quick just run through this Kanye shiz.
This Forbes article. Which Forbes is an interesting choice to publish your policy in because it's a business paper, isn't it?
I think Kanye has a good relationship with Forbes.
I doubt he has a good relationship with many other papers.
I would disagree. I mean,
You ain't got the answer, Sway.
I think that he still has a good relationship. I don't know about his relationship with Sway, but he probably has a good relationship.
Yeah,
I mean, they walked away from the interview cool.
Yeah, I know, but I just think
that's like
that general
isolated.
attitude. But let's keep this ball rolling.
So,
You want to take that first one?
yeah, his party is called the birthday party.
His
The birthday party.
the birthday party.
You know, like a party you go to when it's someone's birthday. He elaborated on this by saying, the reason I'm calling my party the birthday party is because when I win, it's going to be everyone's birthday.
Cool. Is it going to be everyone's birthday? That doesn't even make any sense. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's some like unhinged shit right there.
I mean, I don't think that he meant that as like a rule, but I feel like it was a metaphorical statement, but it was just, let's just keep going.
That's just It's already for me at least, it is already a bit concerning.
Let's not just go to the headlines and let's do a little bit of a deep dive on this one.
Mm-hmm. As they have a bullet point list. Good job, Forbes. A+ journalism.
Yeah, on his natural political party, Kanye said that if it weren't for the fact that Trump is running as a Republican, he would run as a Republican, which is the least of my concerns, and honestly, because I think that when we look at black people, for the most part, black people tend to be pretty conservative in terms of just the way that they view things.
Definitely economically and a good bit socially.
Quite a bit socially, I think.
Yeah.
And it's like the issue with being a Republican versus having conservative ideals is, especially for black people, is that the Republican Party is
not what it was in the 1860s.
I mean, obviously not.
And
The
neither is the
Republican Party
Democratic
was
Party,
also
but-
not really conservative in the 1860s.
No, it was the radical abolitionist party.
Yeah, and so right now
Partially radical.
and that's why I'm very, very particular about not using the words Republican or Democrat when I talk about these political parties because
They're stupid and don't mean anything.
yeah,
I would like to point out that as a direct quote, he said, "I will run as an independent if Trump is there," implying that there is a possibility that Trump will not be there.
he can't possibly run as a Republican. Like, it's not possible.
No, the Republicans would be like, no. And there's already too late deadlines. I'm confused, Mr. West.
I'm really just trying to talk about his policies, you know. He talked about Democrats being a form of the Democratic Party being a form of white supremacy, which
And not the Republican Party.
yeah, but I mean,
I would say they're both fairly racist.
the thing about Kanye, right, is that I don't write off Kanye as unintelligent for the most part.
I don't write off him as unintelligent.
Yeah, I think that like
sane.
in some of the things that he says about the Democratic Party and about the way that black people are sort of, you know, forced into voting in that way, I fundamentally agree with.
Me too.
But at the same time, it's like there's a sweet spot.
There's a balance. I said with U.S. politics. It's U.S. politics is made to be a lesser.
I
feudal
honestly
system.
think that him running as an independent is a good thing. Even if he was doing it like right all the way, I feel like him running as an independent is a good thing.
Yeah,
But
it's not really going to do anything, I think. But
no.
I can't wait to see his percentage in November.
On the coronavirus cure, he said, this is a direct quote. This is a direct quote. We pray. We pray for the freedom. It's all about God. We need to stop doing things that make God mad.
Praise Jesus, man.
Hallelujah.
But also, like,
On vaccines, he basically just said that vaccines are the mark of the beast.
how can putting a chip in someone, I'm just reading this and not explaining it. He said putting a chip in someone would prevent them getting to the gates of heaven. How does that make any sense?
I don't know. I think that they probably do put chips in people, not through vaccines, but they probably put chips in people.
You can put chips in your kids.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. The government probably does put chips in people.
I disagree because the chip's not going to do anything. All you can do with a microchip is track someone, but you'd be able to tell because the technology is not at the point.
I also don't believe that we as just general society have an adequate understanding of where the technology is at.
I think we do. We don't know why.
Why?
Because the United States has stopped funding science almost entirely as a government, right? Like they gave up on NASA, and NASA was their golden child, right? And now where does all scientific advancement come from? 90% of it nowadays.
I'm not sure.
Private companies, either be military contracting companies, public companies, tech companies, all that kind of stuff.
I think ultimately what my point is that I feel like
So I would say what the industry has is honestly at some points I would say like I would feel safer to an extent at certain Apple locations than at certain military bases.
I mean, no, I feel like honestly, the way I feel about it is I feel as though there's a lot of things that the government has under wraps that we won't know about until like years down the line.
Of course,
I
but
feel
that's
like
different than
when we
saying,
look at like when we look at tech, and this is just my personal belief. When we look at technology, when we look at health, when we look at a whole lot of different things, and like call it a conspiracy. I don't think that that's necessarily what I would call it. I think that the government probably has more access to much more than we can really like quantify.
I would say
just
in
based
terms
on-
of like what they listen to, for sure. Because after the Patriot Act and after the foundation of the NSA, like we basically know that they listen to just about everything.
Yeah, it's like, but on top of that,
but then
man,
again, there's also a time cap. You can't listen to everything, and there's also a people and money cap. You can't listen to everything, but they have access to be able to.
it's
listen
not
to
even
everything.
about them knowing about us. I think it's more about the government knowing about. I think that there's just things that I think that there are things. I think that if everything that the government knows that we don't know where to come out, that it would probably end up pushing society forward a lot further forward than we think that we currently are.
I'll go with that, but I think that once you cite examples, I find it easy to tear them down.
I mean, yeah, but it's like
But I would.
it's worth the thing that's worth noting is that all we know is what we can access.
Yes and no. Because I would say, what is one thing we've learned from the coronavirus?
Everyone's dumb.
Everyone's really stupid. And groups of people are even more stupid. And even though there are a lot of smart and intelligent people in government, and there are examples of like, oh, a lot of smart people that were involved in government did some crazy shit, the level of government investment in science has gone incredibly down. And
But I also think that this is just how this is what
we shouldn't trust the government. That's not what I'm saying. Don't
No,
let
I
anyone at
think that
home
it's
get across
like-
the point that I'm trying to be like the government doesn't hide secrets, but I am saying for sure that I can go with some conspiracy theories, but I can't go with like everything because at a certain point it's just you have to be you have to be an expert in human behavior and an expert in how the system works to really say something that I would believe in any regard.
On Kanye's foreign
Yeah, we're
policy,
gonna get back to this. Sorry.
on Kanye's foreign policy, he hasn't developed it yet. On abortion, he's pro-life. He said, quote, I'm pro-life because I'm following the word of the Bible.
You're staring at the camera, and I'm not entirely sure why.
You know what? They know. But I think that that's dumb.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, I know a lot of people who personally are like that on like both sides of the aisle, and I'm not saying that. And this is the one thing that I honestly want to say. You're not going to agree with me on everything that I say. I'm not going to agree with you on everything that I say. I'm not going to agree with Hayden on everything that he says. He's not going to agree with me on everything that I say.
That's for sure.
Ultimately, in terms of the pro-life conversation, I don't think it's my place. I'm pro-choice, but it's not really my choice though. That's like the whole thing is like the whole point is that I'm pro-choice and it's not my choice because there are plenty of like women that are like pro-life. I feel like it's not. I'm not with it. That's just how I feel.
We agree. That's just me. You can say the same. I'm a dude. I can't say it because I'm not. It's like me weighing in on like this a theory in quantum mechanics. Like I'm not that expert.
I'm just kind of skimming past so we can get to some other stuff.
Yeah,
we need to
spend
too much time on this.
We just need to get to the kind of the crazy shit and really extrapolate on it.
I mean, he did say that Black History Month is kind of trash, which I agree with.
He called it torture porn. Hold on. Fucking.
I mean, kind of.
It kind of is, but like high key, I like his wording on things, and I don't mean I like it as an agree with it. I mean I like it as I find it amusing, the same way I find like a lot of things amusing that are not particularly agreeable.
Blah blah. Doesn't like Joe Biden. I don't like Joe Biden.
I don't like Joe Biden.
Oh, this is an interesting one. The Wakanda management model.
This is the spooky one. He
wants to structure the White House like Wakanda, from the movie.
Black Panther. Also, like, guess what? A kingdom. It is the kingdom of Wakanda. Now, it does have a council, but so did Naboo. But it's still a kingdom.
Yeah. On prayer in schools, he wants to put...
Wait, does that mean we can challenge Kanye West to the position of president and fight him for it? Because I could win that fight.
Maybe. No, Kanye's kind of big body.
He got the weight, but I got the youth.
I mean, yeah.
You could definitely win against Kanye.
I'm skinny.
You're skinny, but you got the youth.
I don't know.
You can just move quicker than him. He's like old and like lethargic and shit, and he's got like bad hips or.
He really did beat up a bunch of paparazzi though. He didn't really beat them up.
But how many years ago was
cameras? Like 10.
Exactly.
Not even, like a little bit less than 10. But on prayers in schools, he wants prayer in the schools. I fundamentally disagree with this. I
fundamentally disagree with that very harshly. He hasn't done enough research on taxes.
Doesn't really
because
know.
You want your president not to know anything about taxes.
He likes China. That's the whole blurb is I like China.
I'm sorry. He's like, man, I'm gonna open up the NBA from everyone from Nigeria to Nanchang.
That's a
quote.
That's not a thing that he can.
The NBA isn't part of the government, Kanye. I'm very sorry to tell you. It's a private or public organization?
I don't know. Most organizations are even public organizations are really private organizations.
This is true.
On capital punishment, thou shalt not kill. I agree with that one.
Okay, me too.
On police killings, he's anti-police brutality. I agree with that one.
Same here. Doesn't give any good info about what he's actually going to do about it.
No. On his other priorities, clean up the chemicals. This is a quote. Clean up the chemicals in our deodorant. In our toothpaste. There are chemicals that affect our ability to be of service to God. So here's my main takeaway from this whole thing. Kanye, a lot of his policy is very specifically about very specifically centered around religion, around the Christian faith, which as an individual and as an artist and as just a person who does things and runs companies and stuff, that's cool. But I'm personally big on the separation of church and state.
Me too. I'm really big
on top of that, it doesn't seem like when it comes to certain things that aren't really like just like foreign policy, taxes, I don't really know. I'll figure it out. and that kind of frustrates me.
Yeah, that's some shit you figure out before you announce you're running for president. Not, well, I don't know anything about foreign policy and taxes. Arguably, some of the most important aspects of governance. You just be like, nah, I'll wing it.
Yeah.
If I said that shit, no one would trust me.
Don't vote for Kanye.
Don't vote for Kanye. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
Just don't do it.
But yeah, that's really it. We just wanted to follow up on that.
The other big current event we want to talk about.
There's many big current events.
Yeah, but we're on a time crunch, kind of.
We can cover that last one really quick. Don't worry.
Well, why don't we just cover the last one now?
Okay. So this is more of a me one because I like it. So the Hagia Sophia has been converted to a mosque again, which is the Hagia Sophia. Do you know what that is?
No.
You know that big former mosque in like Istanbul that has like the circles and all the pillars and shit?
No.
Do you need to look up a picture? This is a big event in world events.
I'll let you take this one. I'll pop in.
Well, can you look up a picture, at least? Because I just want you to know what it looks like.
All right, keep talking while I do that.
But anyway, so President Erdogan of Turkey, Sultan of Turkey to an extent, he's a bit of a dictator if you don't know. But the building ever since Ataturk came to power in the Turkish Revolution and after World War I, he turned what was originally started out as a Orthodox Christian temple founded by Emperor Justinian I in what was that then Constantinople. Then when the city was taken over by the Ottomans, Mehmed II converted it into a mosque, and it was that way till the fall of the Ottoman Empire. But then Ataturk, the first president of Turkey, made it a museum because he was big on the separation between church and state. That's the whole thing, is that, hey, this wasn't really ours. It's not really theirs either. Let's make a museum. Let's capture what it meant to be Turkish history and what this building stood for. Very objective, right? Something you can really get behind. And since Erdogan has come to power, he's just kind of been like going all far right and shit, going all dictator, going a little bit back to the Ottoman ways. And so recently he says he's going to make the Hagia Sophia a mosque again, which is not good. And I think it's not good, even though I'm like, people should have mosques, that's for sure. But this thing symbolized a developing Turkey, symbolized a Turkey that was going to be a, leader in the world and a leader in freedom and a leader in the ideas that kind of followed the world wars and democracy. Another thing, democracy not being governed by religion, not being governed by one man. And this really shows that that's not what the current president of Turkey is about. He wants to kind of go back and make things more centered around religion, which is the thing he can control more.
Damn.
I fucking hate you so much.
I should follow Turkey more. Yeah.
It's gonna go. It's important, I swear.
I know it's important.
Don't touch me, Corona bitch.
Anyway, hard pivot.
You have nothing to say?
I don't know anything about.
I just told you everything.
Okay.
So how would you
separation of church and state is good. I just said that about Kanye. The fact that he's turning it into a mosque when it was a museum I think that's not good in terms of. The thing about it is that I feel like I would need more context to be able to speak adequately about it. What
context do you need? I have all of it.
Do we have time?
If we go quickly.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I would just need to,
why did he turn it back into a mosque?
I mean, I can kind of contextually understand that.
Yeah.
I think that based on everything that you've explained, that doesn't sound like a good thing.
Okay, let's just move on. I'm tired. I'm never gonna do world policy again in this show. Don't worry.
I'm sorry, Hayden.
I know.
And I've disappointed you.
I got nothing to say.
So
let's talk about some shit that doesn't really matter. So Will Smith and his wife Jada Pinkett Smith.
The entanglement. of
this
the
stupid
decade.
shit that we really shouldn't care about now that I'm thinking about it.
I mean,
it's none of our business.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's not any of our business, but you know.
So we're not going to talk about it. We're just going to move straight. No, we can talk about it.
No, the people need to know how we feel about this one.
Yeah, sure. Now you should have waited for Hagia Sophia because now I'm going to be much more. I can still talk about this forever. This is like gossip, and I love gossip more than anything.
Yeah. So Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith, power couple, huge power couple, always have been.
Never heard of them being a power couple till now.
Are you crazy? Do you not know about the significance of Jada Pinkett Smith as a actor? I
knew that they were married to each other.
And like the significance of Will Smith as an actor. Like they're both individually.
I knew they were both actors and that they were married.
They're both individually incredibly significant actors. They're a power couple.
That doesn't. I thought being a power couple meant like you were two really important things together, and you came together and you became an even more important thing.
Yeah, they did, and then they made Willow and Jaden.
Okay, I can see that.
I
forgot that. I forgot
it's
that.
It's worth noting that there's the whole if you look at the whole Red Table Talk and all that stuff, there's a whole brand around the Smith family that's this is a
that
power family.
But let's just move on. Now you know how it fucking feels.
The entanglement. First of all, I hate the word entanglement. I hate it as a descriptor of this kind of thing.
It's called an affair, actually.
It's not.
Well, she had that, but that's what she said. She said her entanglement with August. What's his last name?
Alsina. August Alsina.
August Alsina was an entanglement. She said that entanglement.
Yeah, she said entanglement, but it also wasn't really an affair because they weren't together.
No, but it's still
if it.
That's true. That might be fair. That's a semantic point. We can. It's just not. It's just entanglement is the wrong word.
I feel like I don't like entanglement semantically. I just think it's a stupid way to describe anything. Except for chords. And I'm cordless all my life.
In my defense, I'm not coughing.
I can't even hear the podcast anymore.
I'm not even I'm not corona coughing. I'm entirely out of spit in my throat.
That might be Rona, dude.
No, it's not because I've been talking for a while.
So they had the entanglement. Will Smith.
You got me pissed about Hagia Sophia, dude.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Will and Jada broke up for a little bit a few years ago.
They were on a break.
They were on a break. They were basically, the way that it was described, they were broken up at that point. Mm-hmm. And during that time period, Jada Pinkett Smith was involved in a relationship with August Alsina, the singer. I can't name any of his songs.
I didn't know he existed before this.
I mean, I did. He was like an XXL freshman.
I don't know what that is. Now you know how it fucking feels, Michael.
Yeah.
Except mine's world politics and dictatorships, and yours is this family.
I love Will Smith.
I love Will Smith too.
I love Jada too.
And Will Smith is in some of my favorite movies of all time.
And did we talk about Jaden Smith at all last year? I don't know if we talked about Jaden Smith at all.
I prefer we didn't.
But I like Jaden Smith a lot.
Let's keep talking about this.
But ultimately, they had an entanglement, mm-hmm. And then
they fucked.
Probably.
No, I think they said that they fucked.
I don't know if they said that they fucked. I don't think that they said they fucked.
I feel like we can assume they fucked.
I mean, I don't like to assume things.
You know what assuming does?
It makes an ass out of you and me.
Ming, because it's assuming. Whoever Ming is.
And so, yeah, they had the Red Table Talk. Everyone's clowning Will Smith.
I'm clowning Will Smith. No, I'm not clowning him. I feel bad for the dude.
I don't even really feel bad for him. I think that they just... Here's how I feel about it. This is like my only real point. Just leave him alone.
Yeah, it's
this
none
is
of our
my whole
business.
point. Like, leave them alone. They just let them... like everyone's all talking about, oh, Will looks so uncomfortable.
He does.
In the thing. And yeah, he looks uncomfortable. But I don't think that he ever planned to be publicly in a public setting talking about this. No, I don't think that was ever in his plans.
I think his wife and his daughter were just kind of like, we're going to talk about this on the show. And he's like, we have to. And they're like, yes. And he's like,
but ultimately, right. I think that they had to address it because it
Yeah.
came out when August Alsina had the interview. But
Did
it's
he have an interview? I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, he had an interview. They didn't just randomly bring it up.
Oh, okay.
And so it's because of the fact that it came up and because of the fact that it was a thing that people were talking about, it needed to be addressed. That's why they were on the Red Table in the first place. Mm-hmm. And, if you really look at the conversations and you look at how everything went, it didn't really seem as though something happened that was like as big of a scandal as everyone's making it seem like it was. It seemed like a thing happened that happens often in terms of relationships. It wasn't really an infidelity thing. It wasn't really it was a thing that happened. Obviously, I would be uncomfortable talking about that, even years removed from it.
You wouldn't catch me talking about it ever on camera.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a thing that, they addressed. And yeah, I would talk more about it, but we spent a lot of time on Kanye.
We did. But, we watched the video together just before we started. I had already seen the video. Rashad had not.
I'd seen bits and pieces, but I wanted to have the whole thing in my head.
I mean, I just kind of read it that he was definitely not with this whole thing and talking about it, and his body language and his the micro kind of movements in his face were definitely showed some level of discomfort. Can't really infer if he might not be over the issue or if he just doesn't want to talk about it publicly. But Jada was definitely more open and relaxed looking than he was.
Understandably.
But it was kind of cringe, though. At least, like, the way they parted, where it was like, high five, bad marriage for life. And it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That was just weird. That was uncomfy.
I think, and this is a big point, right? We, as a society, like to put celebrities in uncomfortable situations, just as a society. I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about society. We as a society like to put celebrities in uncomfortable situations just for fun. Like that's literally paparazzi. Like that's literally like
paparazzi were supposed to be the bad guys.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Then why do we do it?
Why do we do it? Because I think that as a society I don't know, we're not nice. We could be nicer. So ultimately when we look at how we treat celebrities as a group and as a society, I think that we should just let them live, let them have a life.
Mind your own business. You want people poking around in your shit?
Like,
I don't want people poking around in my shit.
Like, there's a reason that this wasn't a thing 4 years ago when it happened.
This is true. I mean, here's the thing that I think about, right? So it's like this. It works for all relationships in life, but. So when I tell Rashad something and he tells me something, that's us volunteering part of ourselves, part of who we are to each other. And it's one thing because we're friends to go ask each other questions, but we both have the ability to say no.
Yeah, and there's just boundaries and just in terms of our lives. Like the first thing they said in the interview is, we did not plan to talk about this.
Yeah, and it's really weird to go to someone you don't know and demand their personal information because... That's rude. It's really rude. You wouldn't go up into someone on the street. It's like, did your wife cheat on you or whatever? Like, that's fucked up. You don't do that shit. That's called being a dick.
Yeah, and it's like weird that we have celebrities on this pedestal where it's like we treat them like they're not people. Like we treat them as like individuals as they are for consumption. These niggas are actors. They're like Will Smith is an actor and a rapper.
Was a rapper.
He still raps, but he's not really a rapper anymore. I mean, we wouldn't call him a rapper right now. And Jada Pinkett Smith is also an actor. They're actors. They act in films. They're not characters in real life. Like they're real people. And yes, their family is a brand as it is, the way that they put it up, and they're willing to go on camera and talk about the things that are happening in their lives. That's what the whole Red Table Talk is. But at the same time, that's information that they're willing to volunteer. So when we start to take apart that and we start to look at celebrities like they're not individuals, like they're not human beings, and we start to treat them like they're literally characters, like that's when things start to become kind of out of hand in terms of certain things. And so ultimately when we look at how uncomfortable Will was in that situation, Jada read as comfortable, but at the same time I feel like she kind of had to. It's not like there's I could see that it was definitely an effort being made to keep her composure, in the same way that there was effort being made by Will. And I feel obviously like Will probably was a little bit more uncomfortable just because of the position that he's been put in by everything that's happening. But I feel as though like, I don't think either of them really wanted to be there talking about that.
Mm-hmm, that's for sure. But we should move on. We made our opinion pretty clear. Don't step in other people's business.
No matter who they are.
Mm-hmm. And ultimately the Hagia Sophia is more important than Will and Pinkett Smith's relationship.
Act 2.
What is Act 2? What do we have for Act 2 today? You're going to make me scroll, even though I don't know how to use a MacBook.
I mean, scrolling is a generally universal thing.
Oh shit. Oh, we have enough topics and we're a bit over. So if you could run anyone for president, who would you run?
Man, I don't even know. Obama again. Fuck it.
And what policies would he have? The Obama policies?
Sure.
Anything you change?
Probably.
A
I
little
don't
bit
know.
more interference with the police system.
I mean, yeah. Look, it's really hard because the things that I want to see happen in this country probably aren't as good for the rest of the country as they are for me.
Such as?
Well, when we look at, and this is a thing that I've said before, and I've especially since I've been at Howard. I go to Howard, by the way.
We've told him that last season, but he goes to Howard University, the mecca of black excellence, and I go to the Ohio State University. That's about it.
Go Buckeyes.
Go Buckeyes. I like Ohio State football. Go Buckeyes. Fuck Clemson. Fuck Michigan harder, but fuck Clemson especially this year.
Jesus.
Do you want to hear a story about fuck Clemson? It's funny.
Sure.
So when my paternal grandfather was in a nursing home, nearing the end of his life, it sounds morbid now, but there was this dude walking around who was not all there in the head. It was an Alzheimer's treatment place for not necessarily Alzheimer's, but dementia treatment. And he would walk around. It was just this old resident there. He'd walk around, and occasionally he'd walk up to somebody and he'd go, "Come here." And you'd be like, "What?" And he'd be like, "Come here, I have something to tell you." And you'd walk up to him and he'd whisper in your ear, he'd go, "Fuck Clemson." And it was basically whoever beat Ohio State last. So years and years and years ago, the staff told us it was fuck Michigan, back when Michigan could beat Ohio State, now they can't. But now it was like, fuck Clemson. And he was right, like 3 years in advance. This motherfucker was right. This dementia patient in a nursing home, fuck Clemson. If you go to Clemson, you're still good, but like, I'm mad at your football team.
I mean, that's kind of, I don't know. I think that's weird.
You just don't know what it's like to go to a college with a good football team.
Shut up, Hayden. Shut up. I think it's weird.
It's part of the culture at OSU.
It's also weird that we sort of, as society and in entertainment especially, have sort of just normalized laughing at people with dementia.
I'm not saying we're laughing.
No, I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, but it's the thing that it's an interesting thought that I
laugh at people with dementia.
I think that. I mean, just people, not entertainment necessarily.
In my bubble, in the Hayden world that Hayden lives in, no one laughs at dementia. The story's kind of funny because the dude, even though he had dementia and is suffering, it was still a joke. Mm-hmm. The thing is that he just kind of did the joke to everyone. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. It's a weird thing.
If a random person who wasn't in a dementia nursery, dementia resident place, I don't know what the technical term is, nursing home, came up to me and was like, "Fuck Clemson." It was just an old person. I'd be like, "Funny old person." It's less that he has dementia, more that he's old, because old people are like silly even when they don't have dementia.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really as invested in that particular conversation as I.
Yeah, as we can go back to who we would run for president. So you would want, but what policies again? What?
I mean, that's what I was sort of saying. Ever since I've gone to Howard, and ever since I've just really been looking at a whole lot of things, I'd say that ultimately, when I look at policies and when I look at things that I'm passionate about, I'm pro-black before I'm pro anything else. Like that's the fundamental core of my policy.
But wouldn't you say that also elevates a lot of the country as well?
I mean, it could. How
could it not? Is the better question, I guess.
I don't know. It would just really depend because I feel like ultimately a lot of things need to be restructured. We need to. I mean, we're past 40 acres and a mule. We need to sort of restructure just the country, really.
Yeah, and I'm down with that, right? As long as you're not doing like kill all the non-black people, I feel like you're pretty
No, that's
good.
not where I'm at.
Well, I know. We all know that's not where you're at, but like I feel like in terms of policy, like you're just like
I mean, but at the same time, like the thing about it though is that like, if I were to run for president, right? I'm like the platform that I'm running on ultimately when I'm thinking about everything is pro-black. And so when I look at every single policy that I'm thinking about black people. And I'm thinking about how do we help black people? And so it's not that it doesn't elevate the rest of the country by circumstance, but it's also significantly less focused on the rest of the country. Okay. Admittedly. And I'm not saying that like, yeah, I feel like you could do both. I feel like when we think about what's important to me in terms of just policy, in terms of like the things that I'm very passionate about, like I'm more passionate about.
So for the answer of what policies would you have, you would have a long list of eclectic pro-black policies.
Yeah, for the most part.
Easy
I
peasy
think
lemon
that
squeezy.
like, I mean, nah, not really.
No, but like as an answer, I was just trying to
Oh
like
yeah,
I was trying to make it concise so people actually know what the fuck we're talking about.
yeah. And I feel like I don't know. I feel like if it were up to me, if I were to like it would be like it would be a very radical party the way that I would run it, because it would be very I really think very gung ho about a whole lot of these different things. Like I really look at I don't know, man. It's weird being like black and like really wanting to be pro black and like also trying to be like being caught up in a whole lot of other things. It's weird being black and trying to like focus on black people while also focusing on a whole lot of other things. And so when I think about my personal politics, right, I don't, and this is why I don't ever, not the reason. The reason is because I'm not really as interested in politics. But when I think about politics and when I think about when I'm running, if I were to ever run for president, if I were to like hypothetically,
But you're not running.
no, but hypothetically, like if someone were to run for president, I can't say who I would put up there because I'm not, because it's like it's hard for me to especially the more and more things are happening, especially in the political climate we're living in right now, when I'm very hypersensitive to everything around black issues and around the black experience. It's hard for me to like not think in that lens. And so even when I look at things that aren't necessarily related to black people, I'm thinking, how does this affect black people?
Okay.
And that's like the way that I look at everything. And so it's like that's really just what it comes down to, is that I like ultimately like whoever the president would be the best president for black people is the president I'm probably most likely to vote for. Mm-hmm. And that's when it starts to get kind of shifty, because then when you start to look at like, well, what party or what this and that and this and that, and it's like I don't really know. I don't think it's Kanye, but I think that at the same time, and I'm not going to vote for Kanye, don't worry, but I think at the same time, Kanye has also made it a point to articulate certain things about certain black issues that a lot of politicians haven't until they had to. And
well, no politician does anything they don't have to do. That's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, and so the thing
Even
about
outside of the U.S.,
right, is it's like the same way that like Trump's like his whole like one of the big things is, oh, I'm gonna build a wall, and like you have all these politicians that bring up their points about this is the thing that I want to do, this is the thing I want to do, this is the thing I want to do. It's like I ignore, and I for the most part ignore, like in terms of the way that I think about things, I for the most part ignore these things and think about how does this affect black people, and ultimately that's really how most people look at politics. It's not natural for the most part that people are thinking about the greater interest of the country when they're thinking about about their personal politics. So I don't know who I would nominate, because I don't really know who would be like really good for the job. Because it's like because at the same time when we think about this, I wouldn't want to nominate somebody selfishly, and I feel like ultimately if it were just up to me, like there's not going to be a politician that's going to all the way run on the platform that I want them to run on. Like it's not going to happen, because we don't live in a country where that's really like set up like that. Mm-hmm. When we don't have politicians, and forgive me for how black and white my language sounds, no pun intended, but we don't have politicians.
Actually, just
it's like we don't have politicians that are gonna go up and say, I'm gonna like, and this is like over a vast oversimplification, but we don't have politicians that are like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna redistribute the wealth, where we're taking some money away from the the rich white people
with the wealth redistribution,
and we're not gonna defund, but we're gonna not put all of our tax money into the rich white kids so that they can go to Harvard. And we're not going to just put all our money into, the military and all these things. We're going to start putting money into black education. We're going to put money. We're going to start HBCUs are going to get funded, not just Howard, not just Morehouse, not just like the big four. Like all the HBCUs are going to get funded the same way the other colleges are getting funded. It's like when we look at all these different things, we're not going to see a politician that's going to go up there on that stage and do that, because while they might get the black vote, they're not going to get the vote from the rest of the country, because at the end of the day, when it really comes down to it, you're not going to vote for somebody that's not going to be good for you specifically.
Is that disagree.
I mean, for the most part, people.
People, yeah, I would say. I mean, I feel like but none of the things you said are inherently not good for me. The way I'm trying to think.
No,
about
and
this,
I'm
right?
not talking about you specifically. I'm talking about
But
like
who's it bad for? The rich people, yeah.
the rich people
But like,
who
all right, well,
ultimately.
wealth redistribution. Do you mean like take it, like commie take it, or like tax it and like put it back in?
I think it's like first and foremost distribution in terms of like where the money's going.
Well, the money, a lot of the
because it's
stuff
two.
that they get.
It's 2 points. It's one where the money's going, and two. Pardon?
I don't think you know how I don't think you know how rich people get their money.
No, but it is worth knowing that taxpayer money, when you live in certain communities, your communities are funding your schools. Your communities are funding your general area.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at the way that redlining is happening, you
But
look
do
at the
rich
community.
people go to public schools?
No, and that's yeah, that's a point. That's a good point.
They go to private schools that they also fund themselves.
Yeah, and so when I'm
But I would say if I would have to add on to you, right, I would say that you're not just for like taking wealth. I'm trying to save you here really from crucifixion. You're not just for taking wealth. You're here
I'm for taking wealth.
for properly taxing wealth.
I'm for eat the rich, bro. Real talk. Eat the rich. Well, no, and this is really the
We're
thing,
not-
right? And this is really the thing when I think about how I'm pro-black, right? And this is just I don't know like this is just honestly like I'm not afraid to say this. I feel differently about black billionaires than I do about white billionaires, because when you look at old money versus new money, I feel differently about old money and new money. But then also when we look at the new money, the black billionaires that have money, and we look at the white billionaires that have money for the most part, because when we look at because most people that are billionaires didn't just like become billionaires. I'm gonna pull myself up by my bootstrap and become a billionaire. But like I don't even know if I would say most, but a good chunk of the black billionaires, because there are only 15, had to do that. So I feel a little bit differently about that. And so that's where it starts to get kind of shifty, because it's like it's hard for me to say that I want it to be like, it's hard for me to say that I don't want there to be billionaires, and I'm like, fuck all rich people. But at the same time, right, like, it's harder for me to look at rich people as a symbol of a thing, of a system, as a symbol of a group of people who are able to exist in a system that is set up for their benefit. And so I'm saying that leveling the playing field means that it's because the playing field is not just not level. Like, there are landmines on the playing field. So leveling the playing field becomes, and this is much deeper than I thought this conversation.
Yeah, I know.
Was going.
I was just trying to set up a joke for myself, really. Did I make this question with you in mind? No, I made it with me in mind.
Yeah.
And I hadn't even got to answer it yet.
Ultimately, like, you know, I'm just.
He's pro-black.
I went on my pro-black rant. That's my pro-black rant for the week. Unless I have another reason to later. This is a thing that I do often. I don't do it as often on here, but I do it often. And especially when we look at politics and we look at everything that's happening right now, when it's so in our face, it's like it's something that I've become hypersensitive to.
You don't say it on here because there's like, I just agree with your points, because I agree. Like, I'm a very pro-black person myself, but also like I can't say anything because I'm not black.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just like, this is the same way I feel almost about abortion to an extent, where like I'm not a woman, I can't talk abortion. Like, I'm not a black person, I don't know what the black community needs specifically.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I know what poor people need, but I don't know what black poor people need as opposed to like white poor people.
And then also when we look at it, it's also like the issues are not just about black people being poor. It's like
the whole
it's a whole system. It's a whole systematic thing that would need to be shifted. And so it's hard for me to think about things in terms of that lens. Mm-hmm. But that's just me.
Mm-hmm. I can answer the question. You
yeah,
can ask me the question.
If
please,
you could,
please, dear God,
if you could run anyone for president, who would you run?
Someone really nice like Tom Hanks. But he's an old white dude, so like someone like nicer, a little bit less.
I like Tom Hanks.
Like Nemo. I had to run Nemo.
You think Nemo would?
Nemo's really nice.
How long is the lifespan of a clownfish?
More than 4 years.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think it's like 10 years.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Maybe Are you positive?
Google it, dude. I don't fucking know. It's been years since I've had clownfish.
You had clownfish?
Yeah, I had a whole saltwater tank. I had 3 clownfish at one point. A royal grandma, an angelfish, some snails, 2 anemones. I know we had some other fish that I can't remember. 3 to 5 years. That's
3
enough.
to 5 years. That's much less than 10. But
Yeah,
I mean,
but like some presidents,
it could be enough.
It's longer than the
Who
presidency.
would you
of
have
that.
as your vice president?
I'm not sure for Nemo. I would just say someone nice. Someone definitely pretty left leaning. I feel like I need to clarify earlier when I was like trying to clarify for tax things. I'm like eat the rich, but we're like outer spectrum. We're officially not pro cannibal, right? I'm anti cannibal. I'd rather die than eat human flesh. People are gonna be like, oh, you just say that. Like, no, I'd pitch myself off the fucking mountain Donner Party before I ate someone. I just realized this is highly unprofessional.
Yeah,
this needs to be lowered, so I actually talk more into it.
I don't want to eat people. I don't have any intentions.
So are we
but
like we're not saying like survival cannibalism, just like off the cuff cannibalism.
Oh no, fuck that.
So we're anti-cannibalism.
Yeah, fundamentally I'm anti-cannibalism.
Cool. But no, I'm definitely more for wealth distribution through taxing, and I'm not as left-leaning as I once was, but I'm definitely still a very left-leaning dude. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like ultimately...
But, like, look at me.
We gotta... I mean, my thing is just like, you know, I feel like there's things in place... There are things in place that let the rich people become as rich as they are, and that's a problem.
Ooh, Bryan Stevenson.
Who?
Bryan Stevenson, the founder of the Equal Justice Initiative.
I don't know who that is.
If you know the movie Just Mercy that just came out,
I need to watch that movie.
Book, the guy who wrote the book, The Lawyer, he's such a good
Did you see Just Mercy?
I read the book.
Oh, I need to see that. My sister watched it the other day.
I read the book, which I feel like counts for a bit more.
Probably.
But he's a super cool... He's one of like the nicest... My official answer is Bryan Stevenson. He makes me happy because he's super sweet. He does amazing work for criminal justice in the United States. And he's never had a sip of alcohol in his entire life. And I really, and I'm not anti-alcohol, that's for sure. But I really support that level of commitment. Like his grandma told him one day, like, never drink. And he has never had a drop of alcohol, he said.
That's crazy.
But I don't know. Bryan Stevenson is my official answer with VP, Tom Hanks or Nemo. If you could have, no, I'm not going to get into that. Gaslighting. You know what gaslighting is?
It's when you define it, because I know it fundamentally. I don't know how to.
I would define it as you convince someone that something is their fault or something that is not true, and you kind of bait and switch them. So, like an example would be like, someone, I don't know. That's really the only thing I can say is you trick someone into thinking that something was their fault and not your fault when it really is your fault. You trick them using your conversation.
Gaslighting. That's not cool.
Yeah. Have you ever lit someone?
Oh, definitely.
I know you have.
100%. I absolutely have gaslit people before.
Do you think I've gaslit people?
Probably.
Do you think I've gaslit you?
Probably.
All the time.
I think that
But I know for a fact I tell you every time I do.
My thing about it is
I tell everyone every time I gaslight them, but that's because it's fun to do.
I don't think that I intentionally gaslight people. I think that really is it gaslighting myself if I convince myself the thing that I'm convinced I don't like intentionally gaslight people. I think that I also have a thing where it's like if I did something wrong and other things happen as a result of me doing something wrong, I can make myself believe that I'm right. And that's not good. That's like I'm not saying that's a good quality.
You're at gas level power 10. You gaslight yourself.
Yeah, it's crazy. Man, I really need therapy.
Yeah, you do.
I really need therapy, dog. My therapist asked me some questions.
This episode's so fucking depressing.
It's not that depressing.
Pretty depressing. I feel depressed.
I don't.
This is the first. Beards. Oh, he's gonna do it.
Beards. Let's talk about beards.
Beards. You have a beard for like you have a full beard for the first time.
Yeah.
You have a real beard for the first time.
Yeah,
If you could,
kinda.
if you could call it full.
I'm not gonna call it full. I'm not because people are gonna if I call it full, then I'm gonna get death threats.
From me in the mail.
Hayden's gonna send me.
It's like fucking like magazine cutouts. You don't have a real beard, bitch, and it just like comes in the mail 3 weeks from now.
Nah, but I have been growing my stuff out.
Pigeon
I
covers.
need to actually get it like shaped up. The only reason I haven't is because I'm working on a film right now, and so because I'm working on that, and because it's just for the character, for the sake of the character, and it's not like it's just character stuff really, when it comes down to it.
And how long have you been growing out your beard?
Since April or May, probably Mayish, about Mayish.
Nice.
So yeah, I've been growing it out. I trim it. I grow it out. Ultimately, it's interesting. I think that my facial hair has been a big piece of just like the way that I look for a long time because I've gone through phases. Like I've had
Where were you before your beard?
Before this beard or before
Your pity beard, yeah. I have to give you shit. I give Sam. Dude, we give our friend so much more shit because he can't. Our close friend who cannot grow a beard. We give a lot of shit because
like ultimately, I mean, I've grown enough of a beard that I can say that I can grow a beard.
But I will say this: we give him shit in a joking way that he knows we're joking. But growing a beard actually has nothing to do with testosterone. It has more to do with your genetics. So blame your parents, not yourself.
My dad has a beard.
Your dad does have a beard.
My dad's beard is the beard that I aspire to grow.
Your dad has a little bit of a thicker beard and definitely different hairstyle than my beard. But we both trim our necks.
Yeah.
I noticed that today.
I think that ultimately, when we look at beards, when I first started out, like I just
describe to us your journey. And then
I started off with a little mustache, a little chin hair, very like
a little Fisher Price, my first mustache.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Yeah, we've all been there.
I love calling it that.
We've all been there.
That's one of my favorite things that I say is the Fisher Price, my first mustache.
And that was really like the style that I rocked with up until about
a year or two ago.
About a year ago. Like it was in high school. It was in high school.
When you got the full goatee with like the
and you know why I did that? You want funny story because Hayden shaved all his facial hair off.
Oh, yeah.
And
so I do this tradition every spring break where I shave off all my facial hair, which we'll get into when we discuss my facial hair journey. And he had his little mustache and his little patch. And I was like, I'm going to shave. And he's like, I'm going to shave too. Solidarity. And we're like, yeah. And then we did it and like, we regretted it a little bit.
Oh my God, I regretted it so much.
You played it off like you didn't regret it at the time.
No, I mean, like, ultimately, like, because I've had to do it for other reasons before too. Like I said, I'm an actor. It happens. I have to shave off my facial hair sometimes. But I mean, I regretted it at the time, but I feel like I liked. Like if I hadn't, then I wouldn't be. It's like if there's every time I do it, I feel like there's sort of an evolution that happens. So then I started growing out like the goatee, the full goatee. I started making that just
the
a
big
thing.
like goatiness of the goatee.
Yeah, and that's just
which does not work for white people, I will say.
It works for some white people.
No, but when you just have like that patch of straight hair, like that's gross. That's really gross.
I'm trying to think of an example, but I'm not going to try anymore. It doesn't work for. There's definitely a big demographic of people who it doesn't work for.
Definitely style your beard and your facial hair for the type of hair you have, where it grows, how fast it grows.
I'm a bad example right now, but also I'm in a film right now, so I'm. And then beyond that, I had to cut it all off again for a role in a play that I was in at Howard.
Requiescat in pace.
Don't know what that means.
It's Latin for rest in peace. It's a Catholic thing.
Well, then I shaved it all off, and then I grew this back. Then we got locked down, and I was just like, I've always wanted to try and grow like a beard. I'm honestly, as not full as it is and stuff, I'm pretty happy with how I look. Just overall, I'm pretty happy with how I look. I think that I like how the beard
It'll definitely, as you get older, fill in a lot more, I would say. And if your dad is anything, I would also look at the beards on both sides of your family.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I've met your maternal family once, but I cannot remember any of their beards.
It works for some of them. It works it doesn't work for other ones.
Yeah.
But I mean, at least it's worth noting that I can grow a beard. It's not a thing that I can't do. It's a thing that I've definitely proven that I can do. And so at this point, it's just kind of about training it to grow the way that I want it to grow. And that's the thing that people don't really talk about in terms of growing beard. You think it's just, oh, hair. But nah, like a lot of, I mean, yeah, it is for a lot for some people, but for a lot of people, it's like you got to kind of just,
My whole life is just hair. Like this hair just appears
when
all the fucking
when I
time.
started doing the goatee where it was just kind of like a full thing, like I had to train it a little bit because there are some areas that wouldn't fill in the same way that I wanted them to. And ultimately it ended up working out for me. But, that's just kind of how it happens for some people. But what about your beard journey, Hayden?
I've been able to grow somewhat of a beard since I was 16 years old, which is good. It started off much more just like chinny. My neck hair, I always shave. I shave it every 2 days. But if I really wanted to, I'd have a big like Santa beard that comes from my neck, which is gross. I think it's very gross. I'm much sure. Ever since I've had a beard, I've generally kept it consistently the same, where it's a nice
beard.
Yeah, neck. No, but it's not just on my neck though. So, but it would be a lot of neck hair. But it would also be full cheek and mustache and chin. It wouldn't just be a neck beard. I'm very opposed to neck beards. But since then I keep it trimmed nice and short for the most part. Normally, I sometimes trim my mustache a little bit thinner. Sometimes I don't. Right now, it's not very thin. I shave my neck every 2 days. But I've been able to have a beard consistently since I was 16 years old. And again, I shave it every spring break for the past 2 years now. Which is not every spring break.
I don't make it it's not a rule for me.
But
I don't shave my facial hair unless I have to.
But my beard can grow back in 2 weeks, and it's basically where it is right now.
I will say that when I'm done filming the thing that I'm filming right now, when I'm done with a bunch of other things, my facial hair is gonna look so clean. Because it's like I'm not really like trying to have like a huge beard right now. I'm just trying to like have some hair like to kind of fill out my face. And I think it's a good look for me.
I think I look way different without a beard, and I feel like I'm definitely a dude who needs a beard a lot of the time.
Yeah, I feel kind of similarly. I've made it work.
I can make it work, but I much prefer. I feel like my personal aesthetic is built a lot on me having a beard, and my definite like long hair beard. But I have a short beard. I don't have a long hair long beard. I have long hair short beard vibes.
I see.
But I like my beard a lot. I feel like it works for me. I'd almost hit my foot, and that would have been a crime.
Act 3.
Act 3. So, scroll down. Bitch. You know what the joke is? I'm the one scrolling down, so I called myself a bitch.
The 2020 election.
Importance of the 2020 election. So I guess I can kind of start with a bit of a political background. So even though this is going to be a trip and a half, I would not consider myself a Democrat. I would consider myself too far left-leaning to be a Democrat on a general standpoint. But alas, I'm an American citizen. I live in the United States, and I am a card-holding member. That's some bullshit. I am a member of the Democratic Party in Ohio, and I am the membership coordinator of the OSU College Dems organization. But so that's my political background. I'm involved in campus politics a lot this year, more than I want to be, because I understand the importance of the 2020 election, because we've had 4 years of Donald Trump, which is 4 more years than anyone should ever have had of Donald Trump in history. And things have gotten a lot worse for the country, not in terms of black people, Latinx community, white people, poor white people have definitely suffered. Asian people have suffered. The discrimination has become more public and outward than it has been in the past. We've seen, the absolute mishandling of the coronavirus outbreak, the absolute mishandling of foreign politics, the absolute mishandling of tax and law, and every aspect of the United States has just been crippled, corrupted, and contorted in the past 4 years. Some things still stand, and some organizations like the CDC still resist a lot of Donald Trump's reach, but it's definitely, we can't have 4 more years of this, and that's one thing I make super important.
Yeah. In terms of my political background, I've articulated that I'm pro-black. I think I was a lot more left before I left. Bars. But
I'm a rapper.
I think
That
that
hurts his soul every time I say that. I just want the listeners at home to know, the
more
viewers.
than just a rapper, I'm also a person.
Yeah, but the meme's funny.
Is that a meme?
Yeah.
From where?
Fucking find out, man. It's probably from like 2013, and I still remember it.
But like, I'm very pro-black, but I mean, I'm also, and the thing about it is like when you look at like a lot of like super like Dr. Umar Johnson, Hotep people, it's like a lack of progressivity that I'm not really with. I think that I try to be socially progressive, especially as we're living in a changing time. This year is a really weird year. This year, I think, is a year when a lot of things that have just been happening, just in terms of the political sphere, are coming to a head. And yeah, we need to get. I think that the biggest issue that I have with Donald Trump is not him as a politician, because I really don't think that in terms of just his policy, he's the worst president we've ever had.
Well, that would be a lie because there was the whole like Chinese Exclusion Act, but we basically had a return of that. But like, he's not here like with internment camps or like the Trail of Tears and shit. But he's definitely getting close when it comes to immigrants through the Mexican border.
Yeah,
Definitely
he's not
getting close.
Look, I'm not saying he's the best president we've ever had by any means. I'd say that my issue with Donald Trump has less to do with his policy and more to do with him as a symbol, because I feel like he is very reckless in terms of the way that he uses his platform.
Then I feel like you're not a policy guy. You know policy, understand policy, but you can't. As I think we got hit on earlier, you see things as more as issues as opposed to just like boop 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 bullet points on the list. Whereas I see myself as more of a bullet point on the list guy.
And like I can look at all the bullet points on the list and make my determinations based on reading all the bullet points, but it's all under the context of what do I want to see happen.
Yeah.
And it's not just, and like I know I said, and I know that I went on my whole pro black rant earlier, but I'm not like, that's not the only thing that I care about. I care about rights for women. I care about rights for the LGBTQ plus community. I'm just big on a whole lot of like, we're living in a changing social time right now. We're living in a changing world. And I think that ultimately we need people that are going to be in office that are going to be able to respond to that and going to be able to put forth that. And I don't think that we really have had that. I think that Obama was close, but I don't think that
He was like,
I don't even think that Obama was like.
He stood for something a lot better though. That's one thing that I fuck with.
The thing that I really liked about Obama more than anything, the reason that Obama is probably my personal favorite president. One, I lived under the Obama administration.
You always got that bias.
Two, he's black, and I do admittedly have a bias toward black
what?
people.
What? No way.
And but three, I think that Obama as a symbol more than anything, because that's one thing that people don't really talk about in terms of political leaders. Obama as a symbol represented something to me that I really stood for, even though he wasn't able to push forth a lot of the things that he wanted to push forth.
Fuck the Tea Party.
It was still him as a symbol represented something that is totally the opposite of what Trump represents in my mind. And so when I look at everything that's sort of happening, when I look at what we're really doing, it's like we don't have. It's weird. Like we need to get out of that, but it's like where do we go from there? And that's really what the big question is with everything. Like I don't know what would be a better option. I mean, no, I do know what there would be a better option.
And that's what I was trying to get at earlier, is that even though I would not consider myself a Democrat because I'm just not economically conservative enough, and in a lot of ways politically and socially conservative enough to be Democrat. But I do understand that in the United States, we do have the system in that if we want change, we have to work within the system to an extent. Just like you have to work within the laws of physics to get to work, you have to work within the laws and the kind of system we play now. You don't have to obey it, but you definitely have to finesse it to get what you want. This is the thing that we got to finesse in the long run.
Yeah, and I think that in terms of me, when I look at whether or not I'm, in terms of the party or the platform in terms of which I run on, I still need to register Democrat because that's ultimately what I'm going to end up voting. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, that's not. Like ideally, and this is when I think about I think the reason that part of the pro-black thing is like the whole thing, like, and keep coming back to that because if we talk about politics, I can't not mention that. Mm-hmm. Me being pro-black in a lot of ways means that me being pro-black in a system that is inherently just, I'm going to call it what it is, spade a spade, in a system that is inherently anti-black, it's hard for me to think it's hard for me to think in terms of the system, and easier for me to think in terms of what needs to be restructured in the system beyond just the president. And so this brings me to ultimately where we're at in terms of who we're going to vote for. Probably Joe Biden.
Definitely Joe Biden. Unless someone else like comes along, which is not legal almost at this point. But I ain't voting for Trump.
Now,
And I'm not voting for Kanye.
I'm not voting for Kanye either. I don't like what Kanye represents either.
Are you gonna vote for Trump?
No, I'm not. I'm gonna vote for Joe Biden. I just said that.
But you didn't say no to Trump a second ago.
No, I'm not gonna vote for Trump.
I'm just catching you. Don't worry.
My thing is ultimately in terms of Joe Biden, man.
I really don't fuck with Joe Biden. I didn't like Joe Biden in the primaries. I didn't like Joe Biden. I liked the Joe Biden memes when we thought he was a good dude, like the old Obama memes where they were like friends, right? And they're goofy. Like that was fun back before we realized that. Yeah.
I don't think my issues with Joe Biden really come down to the fact that I don't think that Joe Biden is like a bad person. I don't think that I have an issue with him as an individual.
Do you know about the rape allegations?
I haven't heard any rape allegations.
Oh, yeah. It's really bad.
I haven't heard anything about that.
It's really bad. It's like almost Trump bad.
I can't speak. I mean, I would say something about that, but I can't speak on that because I don't know anything about that.
Okay, I'm just letting you know. Maybe you should have done some more research here, Rashad.
Yeah, that was my fault. That's on me.
And on me for not being a good co-host and shoving Washington Post and BBC articles down your post. Even though I don't really read the Washington Post, but it's in the BBC more or less.
When we look at Joe Biden, when I look at Joe Biden, and this is, I don't want to sound like I'm a preachy black dude, but like ultimately, like this is like
I'm a preachy white dude, so you can be a preachy black dude. We can be preachy together.
The statement that Joe Biden made on the Breakfast Club about the "you ain't black" if you vote for Trump or if you don't vote for me. That
was stupid.
That right there really fucked me up.
He's not as senile as Trump, but he's still senile.
Like, and the thing about it, right, is that when I look at the things, when I think about Joe Biden, when I think about in terms of just his policies, like in terms of I don't really know a whole like rundown of his policies.
It's just basic like mid-road Democrat policies.
Yeah.
Like think of a middle road Democrat policy right now.
I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now. I think my brain is broken.
Just some political policy, any policy.
Pro-choice is good.
Yes, he's very He's pro-choice. That's a good one. He's a very moderate Democrat. You know what that means, even if you can't think of a policy right now. We all know what it means.
Yeah,
he's a moderate Democrat.
I think that ultimately, when I think about Joe Biden, like the thing about it is like Obama seemed like a radical thing, like that as a symbol, a radical symbol, and then Trump at this in the opposite way is also a radical symbol, and I don't think that and the issue with Joe Biden, one of the big issues that I have with Joe Biden is it's not like Joe Biden's going to be the president and everything's going to go back to normal because we've had this crazy shit happen with like Obama being the president, like it or don't like it, is a crazy thing in the context of every other president we've ever had. And then Trump being the president right after that is just as fucking crazy. And so then we have when we have Joe Biden, who really ultimately to me represents everything. Crazy. No, let me rephrase myself.
I'm laughing at something else.
Let me rephrase myself. Obama being the president isn't crazy. Like, it's crazy.
Do you know what I'm laughing at?
I don't know what you're laughing at.
You know, like the joke that's like, Obama's not the first black president. Bill Clinton is. It's so not true. It makes me laugh. I don't know why. I think it's funny.
I kind of like Bill Clinton.
He's also a dude with a lot of allegations. Bill Clinton's policy is pretty moderate. It's a bit moderate for me, but like at least he visited the quilt and like tried some shit and he helped out the economy of the country. But he's like C D tier president in terms of like the S through F tiers. He's like,
Are there any S tier presidents?
I mean, you have to do relative to human. Yeah, there's one.
Who?
He was a really bad. I mean, all right. Well, we have to just establish one thing. Are we doing good at being a president or good at being a person?
Let's do both.
Good at being a person, Jimmy Carter is almost S tier in terms of just like a good dude.
I think that Obama is almost S tier in terms of being a good
drone
dude.
strikes and
Yeah, whatever.
And the murder of children. Like
I love Obama.
I love Obama too.
Obama.
He's a pretty good person, but also like, and that's not entirely his fault. But
this
also
is going to be a polarizing episode.
Yeah, I think we should still title though Hayden cries about the Hagia Sophia. That's not what the episode's about. But no, but like even then he's not an S tier. There's no S tier humans, high key.
Yeah,
except for like Tom Hanks and Bryan Stevenson.
I think that ultimately,
and Jesus.
Like
that was a joke. It was supposed to be a joke, but like
I never met Jesus.
That's sad.
I don't know where to go from there.
Continue.
I think that ultimately when we think in terms of like...
People don't like my Jesus jokes, but continue.
I think ultimately when we think in terms of like just... Like Obama was crazy as a symbol because it's like we've never had a black president that's...
It was a radical change.
Yeah, it was a radical change in terms of just the context of the country. Mm-hmm. And then Trump was like a radical change in terms of like it's literally the opposite of everything. Like everything great that I felt when Obama was elected, I felt the opposite when Trump was elected. Like I didn't even go to school the next day. It was like I don't know.
Which was probably good for your health.
Yeah.
I mean, our high school wasn't that crazy, but
we're pretty conservative. And so ultimately, when I think about
not in our social groups, though.
Me, no.
He was an actor, and I was in color guard. Like,
yeah, I don't really do social groups like that.
No, but just the people you talk to.
Yeah, I think ultimately though, when I look at and when I think about Joe Biden, I think of Joe Biden as a return to form, and I think that we're past that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of things going on with Joe Biden that are very sketchy to me. I don't agree with. I mean, most of his policies pretty conservative in my viewpoint, but you know, I hate the lesser of two evils argument, but really here it comes into play because it's important that you vote. If you're a Bernie or bust dude, like I was a big Bernie Sanders supporter.
I was.
He was too old.
I would have voted for. That's not even the reason because he's like basically as old as Trump, like give or take a couple years. My thing about Bernie.
That's the point for me.
My thing about Bernie was that he, like the same way that Trump, like Obama was a radical symbol but not a radical president. Mm-hmm. Trump is a radical president. And I think that Bernie
is a radical president.
I think Bernie is a radical president in the opposite direction. And
he's Jewish.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but
never had a Jewish president.
Yeah, but like
it's not as radical as being black.
Yeah,
but.
I mean, not really. No disrespect to Jewish people. Y'all are rad to me. Yeah. Jewish people.
No, I love Jewish culture is something I'm super interested in. I don't know.
I think really that like the thing that I really sort of think about in terms of
all y'all non-American cultures out there, you got some rad food that you need to share with me.
Yeah, what I think about a whole lot in terms of Bernie is it was less about the fact that like I feel like just in terms of like he was very very left, and like it was like. I mean,
he was left for the United States. He was
very left for the United States. That's my point.
He was semi moderate for a lot of different countries.
Yeah, but my thing is like when we look at like this radical right symbol of just the right, and then we have this radical symbol of the left. To me, that I liked a whole lot of the things that he was saying, just because in terms of just like leftist policy and in terms of just like especially socially, like the liberal sort of social ideologies are things I for the most part fundamentally agree with. at the same time, it felt just like really ultimately what it feels like looking at a whole lot of these different things is some of these things feel very jarring to me. And I would have liked to see the debates between Bernie and Trump because I think that would have been incredible.
I mean, the debates
that
that
would
went
have
on
been
in my grandfather's nursing
would have been
home.
legendary.
That would have been so memey.
But I
Not
think
meme. I'm not saying meme as meme, but like meme-esque, meme creating.
I think ultimately when we think about when I think about Bernie and when I think about what he was and what he would have done, I didn't think Bernie
He's not
was
dead, but he can't run again. He's way too fucking old.
Yeah, I think ultimately the way I feel about it is I don't think that he. I feel like it would have been like I would have been with it. I would have been like I wouldn't feel apprehensions about voting for him. But at the same time, I wasn't like OD Bernie or bust. Like it's not like it was harder. It was harder for me to
really trying
be.
to get onto earlier. Is that if you're Bernie or bust, you're hurting yourself more than you're helping yourself, right? You're hurting everyone more than helping anyone because even though I don't like saying the lesser of two evils thing, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. Like we don't live in a perfect democracy. We live in a very almost failing democracy. And really what you need to do and why it's important that everyone listening registers to vote as soon as you possibly can is because
there's going to be a link in the
there's going to be
in
a
the
link.
description to go register to vote.
That's good for reminding me to do that. But I mean, really, you should register to vote because it does matter. Your vote does matter in a lot of ways, especially if you live in a state like I do. I'm a current resident of Ohio in a way. I'm registered to vote in Franklin County in Ohio. You know as fuck I'm going to be voting, in this November election. I think it's super important for everyone to vote. Even if I can't support Joe Biden wholeheartedly. That's for sure. Take it from me. Take it from a member of the Democratic Party. A kind of, reluctant one. But I'm still going to do it because it's better than the alternative. And it's better to do something that's better than the alternative than do nothing at all. Yeah,
the question that a lot of people need to really ask themselves at this point is what's the alternative?
What is the alternative?
Rather than is the alternative that we have Trump for 4 more years? Is that because ultimately votes do matter. Yeah, everyone will throw electoral college in our face, but votes really do matter. If Joe Biden in my mind is not worse than Donald Trump. That's ultimately what it comes down to.
I would say the same.
And on top of that, Joe Biden, this is the thing that I said in the last episode that I'm going to say again, Joe Biden can win.
Yeah, he's definitely a winnable candidate. And here's where I really just kind of want to... We've both really established, we think that you should vote. We're both going to vote for Joe Biden. Push comes to shove. But I would put it like this. So say your significant other, who you might marry someday, wants to go to a restaurant. And they've given you 2 choices because it's their birthday, and they're letting you decide. Would you rather go to a restaurant you don't like? 2 restaurants you don't like, really, but one you like a little bit more than the other and won't make you have acid reflux that night.
Or are you just going to say, fuck you, we're not going out tonight?
Yeah, no. Or the answer is, or just say, I don't care. The answer is you should weigh in and be like, hey, we should go to the place that we both kind of like. At least a little bit, that's at least better than the other trashy place.
And so ultimately when I look at this whole thing, it's like I don't want to vote for Joe Biden. For a lot of you, I know a lot of you don't want to vote for Joe Biden. I know there are people who do want to vote for Joe Biden, and I'm not really mad at that.
No, you can like Joe Biden.
You can like Joe Biden all you want to. I'm not gonna look at you crazy. I'm not gonna look at you sideways. I don't like him.
I don't like him.
But it's really weird.
He's too white
it's
and he's
weird. It's
sketchy.
Weird being at a point where I'm looking at where it's like if you tell me you're a Trump supporter, I can respect that, but I'm gonna look at you crazy. Probably. Just
at this point, I'm not gonna respect you the same. I have a level of respect for all human beings, but at this point, if you are supporting, and we know so much about the shit he's done. At this point, if you're really supporting Donald Trump, then I'm gonna look at you differently. I'm not gonna hate you because I don't believe in hating people, but I'm definitely not gonna see you as someone who's really thinking things through. So vote November 4th. Register to vote as soon as you can, ASAP. And vote. At this point, I don't care who the fuck you vote for. I would say vote Joe Biden based on my personal opinion and my personal knowledge, which is vast and
that's
massive.
one thing that I want to make it clear.
My
We're
massive
not telling
big
you,
brain.
We're not going to come up on here and tell you who to and who not to vote for, except for Kanye. Don't do that.
Don't vote for Kanye.
Don't
vote for Donald
Just
Trump.
don't do that.
But vote. Register to vote.
Like,
You've been beaten over the head with it for fucking years. You're beaten over the head with it before you're too young to vote. You're going to be beat over the head with it now. Vote.
It doesn't not matter.
If you don't want to live in a dictatorship, if you want to be free to some extent, you need to support your democracy by voting in it.
That's the biggest thing. The biggest thing that I will always say, the biggest thing that I'm going to say, and this is really all that I really want to say at this point because we're way over.
I don't think it's actually 2 hours long.
No, it's an hour and 25 minutes long right now. The big thing
We'll make the next one short.
Yeah. The big thing that I want to say, the big point that I want to make is your votes matter. And if you don't vote and you don't put forth like a vote and you don't participate in the country right now, you're not really allowed to have a say in what's happening.
That's facts. If you don't vote, you don't get to say shit. But the main point that we both like to say is vote, motherfuckers.
Yeah, vote. And I think that's all we got for you guys today. Thank you for listening.
Bad marriage for life. What the fuck, Jada? Why'd you do this shit? Will, why'd you do that shit? I don't understand. Man, I'm still upset about Hagia Sophia, though. I could go on that for a long time.
We love you all. Have a good night.
Cheers.
Or morning or midday, whenever you're listening to this.